Music itself is not worship. And that is why it is possible for you to have a good voice, to have all those vocals, but you are not worshiping, you are performing.
Okay.
Because worship is not music. Worship is not song. And also when you talk about worship, religiously, we are being made to believe that worship is the opposite of praise.
Yeah, it's true.
Whereby slow, faster. And that is why most of the time we start with praises. The songs that are going very fast. And now we want to go with slow motion songs.
And we tend to think that is worship. Karibuni sana.
Asante.
I'm happy to have you two, my two friends, and my brother and my sister. We have an interesting topic ambayo ningetaka tukaweza kuikava siku ya leo. Now we want to understand what is worship. Is worship singing slowly, slow motion, a song with a small or a slow tempo? Tukianza kwa ningetaka Beth utueleze. Je, what is worship?
Worship is an English word. It's not a spiritual word. It is an English word whereby tukichukua dictionary tutaipata pale. And the word worship, it is defined as acknowledging the value of someone or something. Ni mahali ambapo unatambua udhamana wa kitu ama mtu. And in this case, as I have said, is not a spiritual word. Unaweza tambua udhamana wa Mungu ama unaweza tambua udhamana wa kiumbe ambacho ni kinyume naye ambaye ni shetani. Na so, as I have said, worship is a English word whereby you acknowledge the importance, the value of someone or something. And as you have said, is it through slow songs or kama venye tumezoea kujua? Okay, through music is one of them in which we are going to look, but it can be done in different ways. And so
James, as kama napata my sister vizuri, ameweza kutuelezea kwamba worship is where you acknowledge the value of something. So I believe maybe you have something to add on whatever she has told us.
Yes, thank you very much again, Zipporah and Beth. Indeed, I want to concur with Beth that when you acknowledge the value of someone, the value you place on someone, when you express that, you are actually doing worship. Right? Yeah, so the expression of the value that you place to someone is a worship. Sometimes back, maybe if I may just say something here, sometimes back during the reign of the former President Moi, and actually even former President Kenyatta, people would go to State House, and there was this very popular song, Natawala Biema, something like that. It used to go like that. So they would actually, worship him. And through that, some people got pieces of land and all that. It's true. Because it tickled the person who was being worshipped. Right? So basically I want to agree with Beth on what worship is. Okay.
So James, if I'm getting well, what from the analogy that you have given us kuhusu our former President Moi, how people wangetokea kwa barabara wanam praise, meaning he was the object of worship at this time. So in our case, who is the object of our worship?
A very good question. That question we will try to answer it from the Bible.
Okay.
So that we are not filling in our own thinking. And I would wish that we go to the Bible from the book of John. John chapter number 4. I want us to start from verse number 21.
verse 21.
Verse 21.
John chapter 4, verse 21, Jesus said to her, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you will neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for the Father is seeking such to worship him." Can I continue?
No, I think we can do that for the time being.
Okay.
Now, it's very clear from that text that, Jesus, when he's speaking to the Samaritan woman, he tells the Samaritan woman, "You don't know what you worship. We know what we worship." Right? And then now he qualifies that what by saying we worship the Father. Now the Father is coming out very clearly here. So the person who is being worshipped by the Jews is the Father.
True.
But the others, the Samaritans, did not know what they were worshipping. You get?
Yeah, I do. Beth, yeah, let me come to you, because now from what we have read from John, it is very clear. We worship the Father.
Yes.
Maybe you may have something to add on this.
Yeah, it is true. We worship the Father, the creator of heaven and earth. Because Paul says that there are kings, there are gods, there are lords. But he recognizes one. So who is supreme.
Okay.
So as much as there are people who have value, there are people who lure, we recognize that there is one who sits in the highest leadership, who holds the highest value, so who is supposed to be worshipped. Yeah.
If that's the case, then let me still come back to you.
Yes.
Then how should we worship him?
How should we worship him?
Yeah, because now we have understood that we worship the Father.
Yes.
Then how should we? Because you watch like in the movies, we see how Hindus worship their gods, how Buddhas does.
Yeah.
Then how should we worship him?
Now, how we are supposed to worship, number one thing that you're supposed to understand is that worship is a lifestyle.
Okay.
It is a lifestyle that can be expressed in different ways. It can be expressed in how you live, how you treat people. Also, it can be expressed through music.
Okay.
Music itself is not worship. And that is why it is possible for you to have a good voice, to have all those vocals, but you are not worshiping, you are performing.
Okay.
Because worship is not music. Worship is not song. And also when you talk about worship, religiously, we are being made to believe that worship is the opposite of praise.
Yeah, it's true.
Whereby slow, faster. And that is why most of the time we start with praises. The songs that are going very fast. And now we want to go with slow motion songs.
And we tend to think that is worship.
That is worship. Whereby when we talk about praise, we are talking about what God has done.
Yeah. True.
And you can express what God has done through slow motion also. And also you can talk of who God is through faster or through whereby. So it is not about how slow motion it is not about how slow it is. As I have said, worship is a lifestyle whereby it can be expressed in different ways, and music is one of them. And for you to worship him, you must be worshiping who you know. as we have said, we are worshiping the Father because he's the highest being. He's the highest being who holds the highest authority. So for you to be able to worship, for instance, like the analogy my brother gave, those children, those people, those who are mamas, they could worship the president because they knew what he is, who he was.
Yeah.
Now, for you to be able to worship God, you must know who he is. You cannot worship the Father if you do not know who he is. You'll be just acting.
Okay.
You'll be just pretending. Because number one, as much as the worship can be expressed through music, the worship, it is tagged to an emotion.
Okay.
And that emotion, it becomes true when you understand who he is. So as you have asked the question, how are we supposed to worship him? So you have to know who he is. And if I may ask you a question, how we say that all creation worship him, how do they do? Do they do in Kikuyu? Do they do in English? How do they do? Because if worship is tied to a language, especially an English, because again, religiously we have been told the frequent you are in English or in a term, the closer you are to God. Then if worshiping is tied to a frequency in language or how good you are in a certain language, then it means most of us are failing.
True.
But worship is not the language, it's not the language you use, because the creation are still worshiping him.
Yeah.
They're not using our language. There are people that do not understand English.
True.
But they still worship him. So when you are worshiping, worship is done through a picture form. It is whereby you see the way you imagine. For you to acknowledge the value of someone. For example, sure you're married. I know you're married.
Yeah, I'm married.
And there are those names that you call each other.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Honey.
Yeah.
Why do you call him Honey?
Because I love him.
Because you love him. You see, when you call your hubby or someone you value, you give them a nickname, the name that you give them, it is tied. Yani kwa mfano wakati unaita mtu asali, unamulinganisha na ule utamu wa asali. Unapata?
Yeah.
Unamulinganisha na ule utamu wa asali. So if we are expressing our worship to God through music, but the language in the music we do not understand, we are not worshiping, we are just performing.
Wow. Okay. Meaning you can worship God with your mind.
You can worship God with your mind. Worship is in the mind, but it can be expressed through music, through music, being musical, through the way you live. Wow. But you can sing a song that you do not understand. And if, for example, you do not understand a song, maybe if you worship, you use a certain language like Luo, and you're not aware of what it is,
it will not have a meaning.
It won't have any meaning.
Yeah.
So you will just be pretending you are just worshiping. But if you understand, you worship God with the language that you ina make meaning kwa akili yako. For example, I'm very aware you are good in Kikuyu. Wakati unamwabudu na Kikuyu, unasema gaiwe monene. In your mind, it is not just monene. You can see him how great he is.
True. It's very true.
So the language of worship, it is not our mother tongue. It is not Kikuyu. It is not all those languages that we speak. The language of mind or the language of worship, it is in picture form.
Yeah.
Whereby you have understand this being, and now you imagine. And when you imagine how great he is, all you can do is say you're great. And sometimes because of imagining, you're not even able to speak.
Okay.
All you can do is to lie down. Also, you can lie down expressing worship.
Wow.
Surrender. Yeah.
I'm just thinking, maybe just a question. I don't know, maybe it has just come out. How would somebody who is dumb and deaf
Yeah.
be able to worship? Because now, if it is a language which is verbal, then it means it's only the people who are, able
Yes, to utter words. Yeah.
that can be able to worship. Maybe you could explain to us that.
Now, when you talk about bubu,
Yeah. Deaf.
yes, when you talk about bubu, unaweza kasilisha bubu,
Yeah.
unaweza mkasilisha, unaweza joje amekasilika,
Kuna emotions
ataonyesha emotions, and sometimes because of how angry they are, they start wanatoa vijisauti zingine hapo hivyo. So it is true, as you have said, the language of worship cannot be imaanishi ni verbal ama what you can utter, because the same way they can express how angry they are, it is the same way they can express how devoted they are to God. Yeah.
Meaning even them, though hawaongei kama sisi, they can still worship God. Wow.
True.
If I'm getting you right, and what I'm able now to understand our viewers, ni ya kuwa when we are worshiping God, we don't worship God na me being a Kikuyu.
Yes.
Ninaelewa Kikuyu, so nina fikiria nina worship na Kikuyu.
Yes.
That's how maybe nilikuwa na waza kitambo. But now from what I'm getting, I don't think in Kikuyu.
Yes.
We think in picture form.
We think in picture form.
So if I can add on what you are saying, if I don't know the faithfulness of our God,
yes,
when I'm singing a song, worshiping Him, telling Him that God, you are faithful,
yes,
am I really truthful?
No,
I don't know. Imagine sijui uaminifu wake.
Ujui.
Then ninaimba wimbo nasema wewe Mungu ni mwaminifu. Is it? Am I truthful?
The Bible talks about lip service.
Yeah.
When it talks about lip service, is whereby you utter words that are not connected to your emotions.
Ebu shikilia pale. James, we want to understand more on how we can worship Him. Na so far our sister ameweza kutuelezea how we think with our mind, na we think in a imaginary and picture form. I know you have something to add on how can we worship the Father.
Very true. I think from the text that we have read, there's something that also came out, that we need to know whom we are worshiping. And I think she also did mention that, that we worship the Father.
Yeah.
But then he goes on to say, he's seeking those who will worship him in truth and in spirit.
Yeah.
Because he is a spirit. So with that in mind, then and I agree with what she has said, we must now, because a spiritual being is not one whom we can be able to see.
It's true.
So you must picture him, because he is spirit. When you understand who he is, because he is spirit, then when you are worshiping him, you are not worshiping a particular thing somewhere. All right? And that is why I quite agree with her that we must picture it in our mind. We must picture whom we are worshiping, so that even though we cannot see him physically, but in our mind, he's real. He's real.
True. That is very true. Yeah, Beth, there is something that you are saying about giving God a lip service. What does it mean?
When you talk about lip service, is whereby the action you are doing, it is not connected to your emotions. And that is where hapo ndipo tunasemanga una act.
For example,
inaweza kuwa nasema wewe Mungu ni mkuu, na nafikiria venye idheri inaungua.
Yeah.
So you will see mimi nikifikiria venye githeri inaungua ama venye niliacha gas on, the emotion niko nayo ni terrified, nyumba itakosa, sitapata nyumba imeungua. Hey, leo tutakula nini? You see the emotion is different to Mungu wewe ni mkuu. So you see that is wakati unatenda kitu ama wakati unasema unaabudu Mungu na emotion ama emotion enye uko nayo, it is not connected to what you are doing. Hapo ndipo unafanya kitu inaitwa lip service. Yani you are supposed, ndio maana nikasema wakati unaimba wimbo, if you don't understand the Luo language and you are worshiping with mwabudu kutumia Luo language, you are acting. Because if you don't understand that language, how will utaweza je kupicture him?
Actually, it's not possible.
You will not be able to picture him. Na hii inatuletea kwa wakati tumesema music kama songs is one way of expressing our worship towards God. This brings us to the music we normally choose. For example, yani ile wimbo ya Mungu wangu we wajua sababu. So it has been categorized ikiwa worship song kwa sababu inaenda slow. But at that center wakati unaabudu, unaona Mungu ama unajiona vitu zenye unaendea,
vitu zenye unapitia.
So at that time ni nani ako in the center of worship?
Myself.
Yourself. Now are you worshiping?
Actually no.
Yeah.
Good. Our viewers and James, I know you may have something to add on when we are saying we are giving God a lip service. What does it mean?
Yeah, I agree with what Beth is saying. When we are giving God lip service is when you are acting, okay? You are acting, but you are not in the picture of what you are acting. I've seen instances where maybe in the church system out there, you will go there and there are some young men who are told to go and do a performance, because that's a performance, right? They go there and they dance and they do all that manner of thing, but God is not in the picture. God, that's lip service. God is totally not in the picture. But the moment you are worshiping Him, then you will worship Him even with your emotions.
True.
And that is why there are times that you can even lay prostrate. Sometimes, personally, sometimes I just weep. I find myself weeping when I imagine, what I was and, what I was. The Bible says in Ephesians chapter 2, I think from verse around 11 there, when we were without God, without hope, useless in this world, but in Christ.
Wow.
When you remember what He has done to make us who now we are, the emotion now comes in. You can. Some people will weep. Some people will go down on their knees.
Yeah, they lie down.
They will behave in different manner, but because of the knowledge of whom they are worshiping. Yet He's so live. He's so live. The picture is so real in you that indeed it is Him who you are worshiping.
Wow. Meaning, if I say I'm worshiping God, and what I'm verbalizing and what my heart doesn't agree with what my heart feels, meaning I'm not worshiping God.
You're not.
Wow, that's very dangerous. Because you may find out tumekuwa pale kanisani whereby you are worshiping, you are singing a song, yet your mind imeenda nyumbani. Your mind iko watoto wako wapi? It's very dangerous. And for our viewers, what we are able to understand today, one, worship is not just singing. Worship go beyond a song, because worship is where you acknowledge, you place a value to something or to someone, And number two, what we have been able to understand today, God, who is our Father, is our object of worship. Because there are so many gods. But from what we have read today from John, tuna narrow down to one God, who is our Father, who is our source. And finally tumeweza kuona ya kwamba we don't think in our mother tongue. We don't see things, unaona vile tu huwa tunazitazama. Kumbe wakati tunawaza na mawazo yetu, unapata you can really and comfortably worship God with your mind. Whereby your mind and your heart agrees from what you have verbalizing. And finally what I'm able to understand our viewers ni ya kwamba many of the times we give God a lip service, lakini hatujaijiuliza a lip service ni nini. Kumbe ni wakati kile ambacho unanena and what is in your mind and in your heart doesn't agree. So it's my prayer ya kwamba this is just a start. We will continue doing this session of worship as we continue growing and understanding what is worship in depth, so that tuweze kuelewa hata wakati tunaimba nyimbo, there are some song maybe hata tutafika mahali tuziondoe. Because if we narrow down to one God who is our Father, meaning when we are worshiping James, God is our addressee. We address one God. And kuna nyimbo mingi ambazo zimeandikwa, zimenakiriwa. Lakini unapata zile nyimbo, maybe ninaimba my life experience, and I call it worship. So as we continue, viewers, tutaweza kuelewa kwa undani what is worship, because by the end of the day we would like to know, to worship him, and truly to worship him in truth and in the spirit. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord do you good. Lakini before nimalize, my sister, I know you can you may have a few remarks to add on what we have covered today.
It is good we have covered a lot, but penye nitasisitiza ni hapo tu kwa nyimbo. Unapatanga sisi ndio the center of worship. Tunajifocus na hizo. You see, also you can be the center of worship and you're expressing emotion, you're crying, still you're not worshiping.
It's very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
James, to pay a few remarks as we close our topic today.
Thank you very much. I think what is coming out very clearly is that when we are worshiping the Father, because now we know that the Father is our object of worship, then we must put all our emotions in him.
True.
The moment our emotion is not aligned to our mind, then we are not worshiping him. And I pray that we actually focus ourselves to him and him alone.
And I will add this. As we continue growing in the knowledge, viewers, you continue growing into worship. Because the more you continue knowing him as the Father, you continue even worshiping him the right way. Please subscribe to our channel, Revealing Christ Kenya. Subscribe, share, like, and in the comment section, just press your comment there. We read and we'll answer your question. And if you have any suggestion or on anything what you have covered, please press there. God bless you and God do you good. Shalom.